Evening, everyone. Welcome to our regular Thursday consensusism class, where we discuss philosophy, where we discuss ideology, discuss ideas, big ideas that shape our universe, big ideas that shape politics, economics, states, nations, the big ideas that are necessary if we are to understand the details. Otherwise, we get lost. Unconnectedness of things. But ours is special because we focus on what one might describe as radical Pan-Africanism, or the philosophy and the ideology of Pan-Africanism. That is geared towards action for the total liberation, total unification, and the total development of China has a population of about 1.4 billion. It has one government. Africa has a population of about 1.3 billion. How many governments? 55. I mean, surely that is philosophical and ideological madness. Nobody can sort it for us. We have to sort it out ourselves. One of the purposes of this class is to make available the thinking and the action of our parents and their parents, going as far back as 1900, and even as far back as Haiti, if you like, and how that legacy, that tradition, has been distilled into this book that we are seeing called consensusism. So that's why we are here. We welcome you all, be part of the discussion. The way we work is that we respect everyone's thinking. It doesn't mean everyone's views are correct or everyone's opinion is correct. Clearly, some opinions can be wrong. But despite that, the thinking is what we value. And everyone has a right to that thinking. Everyone has a right to thinking, everyone has a right to be respected and to be listened to. So ours is a space where you are free, a space where you are supported, a space where you speak your mind freely, even if you disagree, vehemently make it known. We are a dialectical group. That means we hear from all sides. So we read paragraph by paragraph, as many as paragraphs as we can take each week. We take it to read in turns, by the way. And then after we've read, we hear everybody's thinking on what they think they have heard. And everybody shares their thinking. We listen intently to everyone. And that is how we have developed ourselves. This class has been going on for over 10 years now. We started physically in a physical space in London, in Clapham South to be more precise. And then when COVID came, we went online. And going forward, we are now making our class available online for everyone to be able to listen to and make it available to the world. The pigeon will say more about that as we go along. So that is the introduction. As you can see, my name is on the screen, but Christian Kwame Agbotsa. So that's me. I normally chair the meeting, but as you can imagine, chairing a meeting for 2 hours can be online can be really hard. So Brother Pigeon here assists me, and we welcome anyone who also wants to assist with the chairing. That's fine. So thank you. So Brother Pigeon, that is my introduction. So I'll hand over to you.
Thank you very much for that introduction. Hope you can hear me clearly. Yes, once again, members, welcome to Conscious Study, which is actually a study class where we do the reading of the book, share our thinking, and try to relate it into an African context. And there are key things that now we've been struggling to understand which is the two main ideologies, opposing ideologies, which is either the ideology that's materialism and the ideology that is idealism. Now, Thursday class, which is one of our main class of consciousness, is where we actually try to study the philosophy and ideology, as Mr. Kwame said, of Kwame Nkrumah, which was prescribed as a philosophy and ideology for decolonizing Africa for three main aims: for total liberation of Africa, total unification of Africa, and total development of Africa. On Saturday, we do have a class also the same time, 7 p.m. GMT, where we discuss more things, including the African unification into one continental government. Like this coming Saturday, we'll be having the railway master plan by Brother Kwame Gonza, presenting to us on that. And then last Saturday, we also had another session, and we are planning to have more sessions. We also host conferences, and we also actually have a Tuesday class for the languages. We are open up to collaborate with all Pan-African organizations. We actually sometimes give space for hosting of Pan-African movement who are actually pursuing Pan-African agenda. If they want sometimes virtual hosting for their events, we sometimes give them free space for that. So we are only here as a class only to share the philosophical angle in this struggle and liberation of Africa. So we come in as a philosophical angle, where we try to give the philosophical and ideological tool for all Pan-Africans in whichever sphere that they're fighting this liberation. Because we are all in one war, but we fight in different angles. So us is try to only bring the philosophy and ideology to members. So I've seen, of course, new members of join us. I see DJ Mr. P, who is also a very close friend. I see Dr. Mbogo, I believe he's from Kenya. I see Ajete, who is a common member of our class sometimes. I see Angela Demole, who is also our member. I also see Brother Kabala, who is from, of course, the SUP. I see Mr. Jalal, I see, of course, from Uganda, also a good friend. Marlin Walker, of course, is a long-time member of this class. I see Myra Kina, which is also a lady from, or a member from, of course, Uganda, but living in UK. I also see the King Mauli from Ghana. The King Mauli, Myra, and Marlin, myself, and Brother Kwame, and Michael, and Ida, who is not here, of course, are common members of this class for some time. So new members, we welcome you. Actually, as Brother Kwame has said, this is a space where we read, and we ask you to share your thinking. This is a thinking class, and our thinking is geared towards action. So we read a paragraph, sometimes we read 2 or 1, and sometimes we might even take a class only discussing a paragraph. But this is a philosophy. It's not a story. It's not a history. It's not a science. It's a philosophy. And philosophy needs us to actually understand it. So once again, you're welcome. And not wasting my time, as we always go, we are in the second paragraph of this page, page 23, I believe so. And I'll ask if you can all see this the screen. If the screen is so small for you, you can either expand your screen. There's a way you can actually expound from your screen set so that you can be able to see the reading. And I'll request Sister Myra, who actually is a member here, if she's in a position, she can kindly read for us paragraph 2 of this page. We start with now materials. Okay, what the history behind this, probably, if I can ask Brother Kwame to share maybe in 2 or 3 minutes where we've come from to where we are, ideological and philosophical, so that members can easily connect to what you're trying to discuss about. Because now we start with the aspect saying now materialism, which means you have moved some. Now we are in materialism. Brother Kwame, if you can actually have 2 minutes to share some more light to members who will be getting them.
Yeah, in fact, if it's okay with you, I would suggest we read that paragraph, because whatever I would say is in that paragraph. So let Sister Myra read it like you said. And then once she's read it, when it gets to, if you like, I will then speak fast, but that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll ask you to speak fast after Sister Myra read this. I see the DJ Mr. P is asking this. We'll share the book. We have the soft copy. We'll share by your email if you put your email. We also have an audio copy, which I think I can still translate, of this book translated into audio, which you can also have access to. So we are free to give you the copies. Sister Myra, are you in a position? Sister Myra? If Sister Myra may not be in a position to do this, then I would request Brother the King Mauli, if you're in a position to do this, can read for us the paragraph starting the aspect now. But Mauli has not connected his audio. So okay, then permit me to do the reading, then I'll request Brother Kwame to start up to link the reading, then we can proceed. So starting from the word now, it goes, now materialism is a serious, objective, almost descriptive kind of metaphysics. As a minimum, it affirms the existence of matter independent of knowledge by mind. This minimal conception is obviously grossly inadequate. It is open to a materialistic philosophy, but not compulsory to assert for its second thesis, the primary reality of matter. Here, matter will be whatever has mass and is perpetual, active, and in its manifestation, matter would be coextensive with the universe. Further comment? You're muted?
Yeah, so in terms of where we are philosophically, we are faced with the need to liberate Africa, unite 55 governments into a central government. We need a central government for Africa, not 55 uncoordinated, balkanized governments that are just pursuing sometimes disparate and disjointed and disunited policies that are taking the welfare of our people to nowhere. So we have that situation. And then we also have, um, so that's a unification. Then we also have a situation where, as a result of this disjointed, disunited, and I say disarrayable policies, Africa is not developing the way it should. Now, in order to tackle it, you have to act. But in order to act, you have to be thinking. As a thinking being, you have to be thinking to act. And that's where the problem lies, because the moment you say, well, I want to act, you can't act without thinking. But once you begin to think, there's a problem, because there are two ways you can think. And the problem is that or most Africans, if not the majority, have been brought up on a philosophy called idealism. Idealism is the assertion that the universe has its origin in spirit and mind, spirits and ideas, if you like, spirits and ideas. That is the origin of the universe. So those who then follow that path will tend to be praying for liberation, praying for food, praying for this, praying for that, that kind of foreign libation and all those, anything to do with some kind of the idea that a spiritual, some kind of spiritual action will somehow liberate, unify, and develop Africa. So that is one way. That is one. That is one. Has the book disappeared, or is still there? So that is one. That is one way to look at it. The other way is to say that the universe is made up of matter, and by matter we mean, if you like, that which constitutes at least 85% of our universe, which scientists have labeled dark matter. Nobody knows what it is. And then there are other, after dark matter, there is the matter that we know, that we here know, which has four states: liquid, gas, so on. And that is another way to look at it and to say that the universe is made up of matter. In other words, we live in a materialist universe. So if we want to change the world, we must think in materialist terms. And the materialist terms we are talking about is or needs to be distinguished from the popular and pejorative, if you like, use of that word. You know, when people say, well, you are too materialistic, that is not what we mean. We are referring here to the second of two world philosophies that Africa has given to the world. Both philosophies have come to the world from Africa, both idealism and materialism. So, in this chapter, which is philosophy in retrospect, Nkrumah was saying that it is our duty, if you like, to look back at our history, the thousands of years that we've lived on this planet, the thousands of years that we have had a civilization, that we have put together a philosophy as Africans. Because as you know, there's no such thing as Western philosophy. All Western philosophy basically is African philosophy that has been repackaged. So let's look at that philosophy and then let's come to a conclusion. So that chapter, philosophy in retrospect, meaning you are looking behind yourself. You're looking behind, looking back to where we've come from. And having looked back at where you are coming from, you don't say, what is the heritage that we have inherited? What have we inherited as Africans? And then to then come to a conclusion that you've inherited two ways of looking at the world. An idealist way, where everything is spirit and their ideas, and a materialist world, and a materialist way, which is that the universe is made up of, if you like, matter, or that the universe can be the basis of materialist science and technology, and then make a decision. So up to where we have just read, up to this point, the book has sought to explain to us why idealism is useless for the revolution. To put it bluntly, idealism is useless for the revolution. By the revolution, I mean precisely the total liberation, unification, and the development of Africa. And so the book has sought to explain that. So we've now got to the point where, having then explained why idealism is useless for the purposes of the African Revolution, it's now beginning to look at materialism and to attempt to convince us that if you want to transform Africa, you have to take a materialist perspective. It doesn't mean that spirituality is out of the window. It doesn't mean that. It just means that you put things in perspective. It doesn't mean you shouldn't pray. It just means I know when to pray, and so on and so forth. So the paragraph we have read, as you said, it starts by telling us what materialism is. The fact that it is a serious objective. Serious in the sense that a lot of us don't take it seriously, especially Africans. We don't take materialism seriously at all. In fact, a lot of Africans don't even know that materialism is a philosophy. They don't. And they use the word materialistic loosely. They use the word materialistic, which is different from materialists. So it's a philosophy that Africans don't take seriously. On the whole, Africans do not take materialism seriously. The countries with a scientific tradition, where there's a strong scientific community, that community, because they have the leading position in that country through their institutions of learning, they take it seriously. And because they hold positions of power, they're able to influence their society. So their societies actually, if you look at the world, their societies actually take science seriously. Yes, they steal our resources, but then they add to those stolen resources, technology, and so on and so forth. Materialism is objective in the sense that, look, the universe was here before we all came. Okay? If we all disappear, it will still be here. Okay? And the universe has been here, nobody knows when it started. Right? According to, if you look at it philosophically, you must say that it has no beginning. Because the idea of beginning and ending is an idea that we get from inside the universe. But when materialism is talking about the universe, we're not talking just about the inside of the universe. We are talking about the universe, including whether it even has an outside. And philosophically, it cannot have an outside. The reason it cannot have an outside is because if it has an outside, then it is not a universe, because universe means totality. In that sense, therefore, the universe is objective. It's an objective universe. So materialism is objective. In other words, it is out there, irrespective of you, whether you are there or not. Is that whether you can see Jamaica right now doesn't mean Jamaica doesn't exist. Whether you can see South Africa right now, if you're not in South Africa, whether you can see South Africa right now, does not mean that South Africa doesn't exist, or the Comoro Island doesn't exist, or Madagascar doesn't exist, because you can't see it, you can't feel it, you can't taste it, whatever. It is objective, it's out there. And then thirdly, it's almost descriptive kind of metaphysics. Why descriptive? Because we can describe water, can't we? Water is H2O. Idealists cannot describe water. All they will say is, God created it. Yeah, but how? Yeah, but he created it. It's very powerful. A lot of power. He can do it. Yeah, but how did he create? Well, hey, he has power. And then you go in circles and circles, and you never get to how it was done by this great spirit. So it can't describe anything. So this is what materialism is. And then it goes on to say that as a minimum, it affirms the existence of matter independent of knowledge by mind. Now, this is the point. If the universe existed before we arrived, it means that the mind, whether it's the mind of a man or the mind of a dog or the mind of a bat, whatever mind is, how you conceive mind, that mind would have come into existence, on the back of the universe itself. And therefore, as a minimum, the universe or matter is independent of what you know about it and how you got to know about it and when you got to know about it. It is independent of that. It is completely independent. Precisely, it's independent because the universe, whenever whether it was here from the beginning, when there's no beginning, the end is the beginning, however you want to see it, whether it's even had a beginning, the point is that at some point mind arrived in the universe. And when that mind arrived, the mind then began to understand the universe around mind. Yeah? Now, so up until the point where mind arose or popped up or emerged, if you like, and the universe was there. That's what it's saying. So this is a minimal conception. And obviously, as Nkrumah is saying, it is grossly inadequate. But then it goes further to assert a second thesis. And the second thesis is the primary reality of matter. And so here, matter would be whatever has mass and is perpetually active. And its manifestation, matter would be coextensive with the universe, meaning that matter, whatever matter expands, and we know we have an expanding universe anyway. So yeah, so here we are, face to face with materialism as a serious, objective, and almost descriptive kind of metaphysics. And the suggestion here, brothers and sisters, is that if we are going to transform Africa, this is the kind of philosophy we should be wasting our time on. That is the implication. And when our leaders meet, these are the kind of things they must get through their head and understand. Otherwise, we are going nowhere. Right? Otherwise, we cannot do the change, the transformation that we need. If you cannot describe your problem with the right metaphysics, how are you going to solve it? And if you're going to describe your problem in spiritual terms, so the lady in the village is responsible. She or he or she doesn't like the fact that I'm successful in the city. That is why the lady in the village is responsible. There are witches. Okay, so you see, the problem is that we have witches and so on. Is that kind of thinking is not going to transform Africa. It will only lead to a witch hunt. So that is, I will stop there for now.
Thank you so much for the comment. Now, we'll be opening our class based on what Brother Comments explained from where we're coming from. I'll link to whatever we've read here about material. Permit me to read that. After my reading again, we'll be calling names as in the list. We ask you if you can share your thinking. What you do, you share your thinking. What do you think? Your understanding out of this, and based on that discussion, if you want to also share your thinking on what Brother Comments say, you're free to do so, but connect to the paragraph. We always try to stick to the paragraph so that we'll be able to connect. Permit me to read the paragraph again before we proceed. Okay. And the paragraph says that now, this is the second paragraph. Now, after we are done with the idealism, materialism is a serious, objective, and almost descriptive kind of metaphysics. As a minimum, it affirms the existence of matter dependent. It affirms the existence of matter independent of knowledge by mind. This minimal conception is obviously grossly inadequate. It is open to materialist philosophy, but not compulsory to assert for its second thesis the primary realities of matter. Here, matter will be whatever has mass and is perpetually active. And in its manifestation, matter will be coextensive with the universe. So that's the reading of the class today. So permit me I'll be mentioning the name. If you have something to share, can you share? If you don't, we don't, of course, encourage people not to have something philosophical to share. But if you don't have something also, we just say pass. So in my list, I'll start by Ajete Ashia. Ajete, what can you share out of what is the reading? What do you understand out of that? And based also what the comments explained from where we're coming, what can you share in terms of your thinking? Ajete?
I only just hello,
hello,
comrades. I only just joined. I'm just catching on to what the conversation is about. You see,
it's just open. What you're conversing is what is in the screen. What I've read. That's what you're trying to share. Your own.
Yeah, my take on what I can say so far is that, you see, religious people, they can't be scientific. Religious people are not scientific. Religion is what is killing Africa mostly. You know, they don't use science. They use their feelings, their intuitions. They are just, well, if they use even their feelings and intuitions, that would be all right. They just use indoctrination, what they've been told over years, and they forget that even Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the first 4 books of the New Testament, as they call it, was not even was written after Paul had written his things. Paul has written his things about religion, about Christianity. These 4 books were written after Paul, but in the arrangement, they put them forward before they put Paul, the Acts of Apostles. And then Paul himself didn't meet Jesus. What Paul said in his books is that he didn't meet Jesus. He must have had too much food or something to eat, and then a strange light came from the skies and hit him in the face or something, and then he started talking about all the things he talked about in the Acts of the Apostles. So that when we go down there to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John again, those are not real people. They are not even real. But they are just figment of people's imaginations. But this is what Africa dwells with. Africa is dealing with this thing for so long, and it's holding us back. If we should put religion aside and face reality, I think we'll be far ahead of things where we are now.
Thank you. Thank you, Brother Jete. I know always you stand on religion in several discussions. Thank you for that. Because it forms a part of our idealism discussion. What you've raised there that of course, which is idealism, sometimes do not have consideration to science. That's okay. Let's check what Mauli is having. Mauli, what do you think? What do you have to share with us in regards to the reading or the discussion shared with Mr.
Yeah, so I just got in. So yeah, let's keep it for now.
Okay, DJ Mr. P.
Yes, sir. Greetings, Sawabona, brother. Sawabona. I find there's two things. I'm going to respond as you requested to what was read to us, the page. And then I wanted to respond to what you were saying earlier on regards Pan-Africanism and stuff. And firstly, the problem with idealism is it's nice to believe, because that's what idealism is. You know, compared to materialism, idealism is all in the mind. Materialism is out here in the real world, and it's physical and practical. Yeah, it can be measured, it can be tested, it can be tried, it can, you know, it's practical. Whereas what you believe is what you believe. That's why there are so many religions. Yeah, there's not one religion. There are multiple religions because different people or different groups of people believe different things. And as my brother just said earlier on, I've forgotten his name, but the first gentleman that spoke, the first brother that spoke, religion is the ongoing cause of Africa's problems. Because, like I said earlier, the problem with religion is you don't really have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. You just pray and sit there and wait and hope. And that's not a very practical way of dealing with problems or dealing with life. If you're walking down the road and there's a lion coming towards you, prayers ain't going to save you. Yeah, if you decide to walk off the roof of my building thinking you're going to go up instead of down, no matter how hard you pray, you're going to go down. So our people, very sadly, or most of our people, very sadly, have been completely brainwashed with this whole idealism religion thing. And it served its purpose how many hundreds of years ago for the Tubabs, or sorry, for the Caucasians, for the Arabs. It served its purpose, but we still many of us are under its spell and haven't seen and cannot see anything else. Cannot and do not want to see anything else. So for me, in terms of getting back to the original gentleman, the brother that spoke, in terms of liberating Africa and her people, I think our biggest issue is firstly religion, followed by us ourselves as a people. Because everywhere I've been around the world and I've traveled and I've seen our people, doesn't matter which country I'm in, it doesn't matter which tribe, it doesn't matter if it's in Africa or in the West Indies or America or Europe, it makes no difference. Wherever I see our people, I see a common thread. And I'm not just talking about how we look, I'm talking about our behavior. And if anything needs to change in Africa, it's the attitudes of her people. And I do not believe that Africa will ever be liberated until we actually change. We have to change first. If we want to see Africa change, I really believe the onus is on every single one of us as Africans, and more importantly, as Pan-Africanists, to change. And that means working on yourself. You got to work on yourself. Because in order to change the continent of 1.5 billion people, for argument's sake, let's just say 1.5 billion people, yeah, The people have to actually change first. If you want things to change, then you must change first. And too many of us, as you can see, and as you may have experienced, have got the wrong idea, on the wrong road, bad attitude, wrong attitude. I mean, just look at the leadership of African leaders. That is a perfect example just to show how much we as individuals need to work on ourselves. What has happened to us has had a very had a deep impact and a very long-lasting effect on us. Okay, but the same way we were programmed, we have to deprogram or reprogram ourselves. So that's going to take work, and work is effort. So unless people are willing to work on themselves, ain't nothing going to change. And I see that personal development as the only way out, because it's the only thing that we haven't done. It's the only tool in the toolbox we haven't used, because we've been on our knees praying for the last 500 years and we're no further forwards, which means we have to change. The same way that I know we've got our 1.5 billion people, we want to have one government, we want to have, great, fine. But just take a look at what's happened over in Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali. Yeah, these guys are teaming up. So what was 54 is slowly becoming less and less. I mean, personally, you may not like what I'm going to say now. Some people may be offended by it. Some people may agree. But I don't really count the Northern African countries as Africa. So, I mean, I'll make an exception with maybe Algeria. But, you know, Tunisia, Morocco, all these Egypt, all these people up there. Nah, they're Arabs, right? They are not like us. They do not see themselves as Africans, and they don't like us, and they don't want us around them, right? So for me, it's not 54 or 55 countries. I more see it as around about 47, 48. Yeah. So I'm concerned about sub-Saharan Africa. These are my people. These are my Bantu people. So in order to address that 1.5 billion people, we've got to make changes. It's got to start from within first. And the family is the building block of any community. And many of our families are broken. Many of them are broken. So in order to fix the family, it still comes back to the same thing. We've got to fix ourselves, because we cannot fix the community until we can fix the families. And we can't fix the families until we fix ourselves. And it works when you expand it out into the macro, the same thing. You cannot fix a society unless you've fixed the broken communities. And unless the society's been fixed, the country's broken. And it goes out, it expands out into the continent. So that's how I see things. And I'm very much an advocate for personal development. And I'm really hoping that more of us actually take a look at that and implement it and in what we're doing, because that's the only way that we can become the best that we can actually be. Even if you're doing great work now, you can do greater work when you employ the personal development tools. I think that's something that we need to make core in whatever we're doing, and always revert back to that when we've got issues or problems to actually resolve them. So I hope I've responded accordingly or adequately, and you've got something out of what I said, and my submission has helped.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Of course, we would like also you and members who are becoming in to try to at least connect and speak to this program. Because what you do, because for members now, we give a general observation in regards to general information that Brother Kwame has given us from where we're coming from. But also we'd like you to actually connect the paragraph that you are reading as you end up or as you wind to tell us what do you understand from that text that is read there. And any text you see on your screen, if you can be able to read it, you don't stop you from reading it, but what do you read out of it? So let me go to the next person on my list, which is of course Sister Ida's just joined. Brother Kabbalah is here. So I'll move to Brother Kabbalah and then Karanja, where we are discussing about materialism for this page. That's we started. And there's a lot of information about materialism. But what do you have in regards to materialism, or what is your thinking in regards to what is shared, and what also has been shared by Kwame Sabakan of where you're coming from idealism? What is your positions in the two? What is your thinking? Yeah, that's what you want to know. Brother Kabbalah?
Sorry, before Brother Kabbalah speaks, can I make a point?
Yes, please.
The point I want to make is that it's very important that we all here realize that everyone's thinking is important. We value everyone's thinking. No one should feel that they should apologize for their thinking. Share your thinking, and others will listen and share their thinking. And sometimes their shared thinking might oppose or affirm one's thinking. But then that is what dialectics is about. And all this is taking place in terms of with the underlying respect and love for ourselves as Africans, and as part of repairing ourselves. So I want everyone to feel free to share their thinking without being apologetic and so on. The other thing also is that it's important, as you mentioned, Brother Pigeon, that that when we share our thinking, that we relate it to what we are reading. Because then when we do that, we then help to develop those who are listening. Because philosophical thinking, the ability to think, of course, we all think and we all can think. But as you know, people don't always think in the right way. There is a right way to think, it's a wrong way to think. So, what this class, in a way, is also about is that it's help. We are saying that we need to think in a certain way. So, when we read a paragraph, we request that whatever anyone says, if they can link, as Brother Pigeon has said, if you can link what you have said to the reading, that will help to develop everyone's thinking. Thank you very much. Yes, that's what I wanted to say. Brother Kabbalah, sorry to come in there. But yeah, please carry on and share your thinking. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Kabbalah.
All right. Greetings, everyone. Peace and love, freedom and decolonization to all African people. So thank you very much for the opportunity and for all the presentations made so far. I'm enjoying, as naturally, enjoying listening and learning from all that is being shared. But if I have to maybe make a comment or a contribution in terms of what is being discussed so far, I think the key word for me in the paragraph that is being read is that the existence of matter is independent of the knowledge by mind. And by that, what I'm trying to understand is that the fact or the phenomenon can be in existence whether we acknowledge it or not, whether we recognize it or not. As earlier on, somebody, I'm not sure who was said that the proof or the evidence of the universe didn't come in existence with our mind or with the presence of human being. For the fact that we begin to think that the universe is there are stones, there are mountains, is not that which created the universe. So the materialistic universe was already there, even though the knowledge of human being to describe it or to define it was not yet in existence. So by saying that, I want to bring that down to our condition as African people, because in most cases we try to ignore the fact that we are living under the oppression, which is born from the domination of Western thinking over African thinking and over African systems. For the fact that we are living under the domination of other people, domination will always give birth to oppression, whether it is the parent domination or a so-called divine domination. Once you are in the situation of domination, you will end up being oppressed, because once you are dominated, you cannot develop fully as a human being and achieve your full potential. So some of us have developed the mechanism of survival, which means to try as much as we can to ignore the fact that we are under domination and we are being oppressed, and try by all means to make ourselves comfortable with the oppression, thinking that then the oppression will go away as we try to ignore it, which is not true, because this oppression or this situation is like a cancer. You can ignore it or you can acknowledge it, but it works. It eats your system bit by bit until it takes you down completely. So that is what we are facing now. Many of our people, a large portion of our people, have gotten comfortable with the oppression, and some also willingly have accepted to ignore the fact that we are under the oppression. But that does not really make the oppression disappear, does not make the situation go away. The only solution that we have is to face the situation, face the reality, and change it, because we have the capabilities of doing so, especially when we know that the situation we are going through is a man-made situation. It also takes other men with their plan, with their thinking, their commitment, and their actions to work and change the situation they are facing. And I'm talking about us as African people. So I believe that raising the consciousness of African people and the awareness of the situation is important, so that we get as much African people as possible understanding the reality, and eventually getting on that motion of taking actions to change that reality, which we don't like. So that was just my contribution. I think the main point is that the reality, the materialistic problem or a phenomenon exists whether we acknowledge it with our mind or not. It's not when we begin to acknowledge the situation is there when it begins to exist. I mean, trees or fruits were falling from trees before even Newton was born, and before he came up with his gravitational, force, so-called discovery. So it means the phenomenon is there. So the best way for us to deal with it is not to ignore it, is not to get comfortable with it, but is to face it and change it. And we got to really come together and then study the ways and the means by which we're going to change the situation. So that I will end my contribution. Thank you very much. Peace and love.
Peace and love. Thank you very much, Comrade Kabbalah from ECP. It's a pleasure having you around, of course, and having you being the top leadership of a mass party, of course, and being the engines behind sometimes the mass party that's coming up, African Continental Unity Party. Yes, we feel that actually agreeing on some ideological or philosophical points is very important for us in Africa, and actually having an ideological position that is, of course, to the advancement of our material welfare or material beings as Africans, so that actually we can satisfy our welfare as a people. We can be able to sustain our living and our welfare and use our resources for our welfare. It's very important. So we appreciate your presence, Comrade Kabala. Feel most welcome, Comrade. Comrade Karanja, come to you, Comrade. Any share your thinking, you're free to share your thinking.
Thank you, Comrade Pigbin. Good to see you, Kwame. Good to hear you, Kabala. And if I can just pick up from where Kabala left and where the reading, what I caught of the reading, if I think the reading is placing the material over the materialism over idealism, and therefore, if it's placing the material over the idealist or the idealistic, the solution for us as Africans has to be material. And what is that solution? Starting with the material reality. The material reality, to pick up from where Kabala left, is that we are colonized. We are economically colonized, we are culturally colonized, we are socially colonized, and absolutely politically and economically colonized, in the sense that our political governing systems are systems that are inherited from Western systems, and they're just extensions of Western systems. They are subject to international governance by systems such as the UN, which are not democratic at all, the WTO, the WEF, etc., which are also economic systems of domination. So materially, we are colonized. And therefore, the response has to be material. Materially, we have to decolonize. We have to extricate ourselves from that system of colonialism, which means freeing ourselves from the colonizer physically. The Malians, the Burkinabe, and the Nigerian have done so by telling the French, the colonizer, to get the F out of their countries. And that is the solution. It's really quite simple. It's as simple as that. Simple, not to be confused with easy, because a simple solution does not necessarily mean that it's an easy solution. And the thing that I find so strange is that there still seems to be this idealistic leaning in most of the rest of Africa, where we continue to pontificate about what it is that we as Africans need to do to achieve independence, and a lot of the pontification tends to be around idealistic, abstract concepts. For example, about changing mindsets and changing and the morality and the integrity of our leaders. And in reality, none of that has any bearing. The integrity of the morality. Leaders are immoral all over. Politicians are immoral. Corruption is rampant and endemic all over the globe, in every single country: Switzerland, Singapore, China, Korea, you name it, it's everywhere. So these abstract sort of pontification about integrity and morality will not get us out of our material condition. Our material condition is colonialism, and we need to rid ourselves of colonialism physically, the economic, the geopolitical, the cultural, and the social. We have been shown by our fellow Africans in the Sahel an example of how to do it. And what we should be doing is following along and supporting that revolution and expanding that revolution, and change the material reality and the material conditions of domination by the colonizer. Thank you. That's all I got.
Thank you very much. I think maybe we'll have to expand our reading of our text a bit to make it maybe 2 or 2 paragraphs so that you can link it generally. But I do appreciate the comments you're giving, of course, being our first time comments, and also the fact that also we are trying to link what is here to the reality. But I would also like us actually to give, of course, our general view in regards to how do you understand materialistic philosophy, but idealism, and but also link it to what is here. Like what I'm saying, the reading says that now materialism is a serious, objective, almost descriptive kind of metaphysics. As a minimum, it affirms the existence of matter knowledge. So
Brother
this is what.
Pigeon, are you sharing, Brother Pigeon, are you sharing your thinking now?
No, I'm rereading this and asking remaining members to stick to this.
So don't reread. Just ask everyone to share their thinking. So we go very quickly and hear from everyone. Then move to the next paragraph.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Let's go to.
Yeah. Let's hear everybody's thinking.
Let's go to Jalal then. Jalal
Yeah,
Hashim.
thank you.
Senior Comrade Jalal.
Yes, are you hearing me?
Yes, we are with you, Jalal.
Yes, greeting to everybody. I've been enjoying listening, in fact, and I was expecting that to keep enjoying listening. My point is that, and I think Comrade Big Ben knows this very well because he has been, to some extent, or at least much more than your the exceptional case with regard to the other that in touch and to great extent immersed with my writings, that I distinguish between ideology and culture. And I know that I'm fully aware that ideology, like any other term, has got so many definitions. However, the definition I always adopt in my writings, as I see that this is the definition that applies to the realities I'm addressing, is the one that ideology is a false consciousness that falsifies realities and creates illusion. In contrast, to me, culture is the field or space where power is generated. Because culture is interactive. It is dynamic. It is always changing. And culture simply is the result of our success in discovering the feasible solutions that have enabled us to survive so far. In this way, culture is accommodating. At the same time, culture, I don't confine it to the anthropological definition of tradition, etc., although it includes all that. So culture is the field and space where people struggle. If you contrast it with ideology, ideology is static. Culture is relative. Ideology is absolute. Culture is interactive, but ideology is dismissive and divisive. Culture is dynamic, ideology is linear. In this way, if you take religion as culture, why I say before I jump to this conclusion, let me also add that culture creates cleverness collectively and individually. What is individual will eventually build up into something collective. So culture at the end creates cleverness, intelligence. And this is how we have survived, while ideology, at the end of the day, will end up with creating stupidity. The ideologue is a stupid person. Okay? Yes, Big Ben?
Can we move to the text on materialism?
Yes, and this is what exactly I'm driving at, that material. And I remember sending you something, some of my writings where I addressed the concept of material from the cultural analysis approach. So in my opinion, because I'm addressing here also the point raised by some of our colleagues here about religion. So it is all whether your approach to religion is cultural or ideological. If it is ideological, it would be very harmful and very destructive. If it is cultural, it will give you boost towards development and prosperity. And even now, if we consider the European civilization, it is called Judeo-Christian civilization. So people has, if religion is that important to people, then we have to take religion on board. But from which approach, that makes the difference. Thank you so much. I better leave it here, and I just wanted to address the points raised by other speakers regarding their verdict against religion. I'm not a religious person myself, but I do respect what is necessary to the people becomes necessary to me in my thinking, rather than dismissively pass judgment and verdict on the people. I do believe that people are always good. People, generally speaking, are always good, and that we can take insights from people. Thank you so much. I better leave it here.
Yeah. Can I, Brother Pigeon, can I assure Brother Jalal that as a philosophical class, that's CSG, we don't dismiss religion. And if that is what came across, then that is not what we are saying. And in terms of the cultural use of religion, I can cite excellent examples in the fight for independence when religious texts were used. In fact, Nkrumah himself used famous religious texts for the cultural purpose of asking the British to leave. And when he said, seek ye first the political kingdom, and all other things shall be added unto you. That was an appropriation of religious text. So I just want to assure Brother Jalal that we, in this class, we share our thinking, and everyone should feel free to share their thinking. But when people share their thinking, it shouldn't be assumed that that is the position of consensusism. I hope that clarifies things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Kwame. Of course, in our previous text, if you refer to this, Nkrumah having analyzed religion and impact of religion, religious aspects, he actually then recommends that a state should be secular. And that position is up there. If you go back to our reading, he analyzed the idea. Then he preferred that a state should just be secular and not actually one-sided religion. That's what the position actually consciously talks about. But as is been said, members here are free to connect their thinking in regards to how they understand idealism or materialism, which does not actually constitute to a class thinking, but it's an individual thinking, which is allowed. So individuals are free to make that. Let me check what Sister Myra has to say, and then Sister Marlin. Sister Myra, or she says she's engaged, she may not be able to speak. Just confirm if you're able to speak, can you do so? If you're not, let me go to Sister Marlin. Sister Marlin? Then Sister Ida is also here. Sister Marlin? Can you connect your thinking with us?
Sorry, I went on the phone, so I just heard bits of what you're talking about. So whereabouts are you?
Sister Mandy?
Yeah, did you hear what I said? I missed most of what you
Yes.
said. I was doing other thing.
Yes.
So
Sorry. Can I come in there? So, brother, let's hear from somebody else. Let Sister Marley listen to what is being said, and then she can contribute later. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Sister Ida?
I think I'd sort of like to focus on the text in that I think that it's saying that materialism, even though it is serious, it can't actually be almost quantified, because what we don't know, but it still exists. I think that's what it's telling us. And that that the minimum, it says the minimum concept is of matter is independent of knowledge by mind. So that's why I think that what we don't know doesn't mean that, like for instance, the universe or the outer universe, the outer space universe, we don't know what is there, but it's still there. The same would apply to maybe things that are underground or in the sea. We don't necessarily know what is there, but they're still there. So I think that yeah, I think that's what it's really telling us in the text. So I think that the same, in a way, could apply to religion. The fact that we don't know all about religion, seeing everybody's spoken about religion, this is the only thing I will say about it. The fact that we don't know all about religion doesn't necessarily mean that we're right or wrong in our thinking. It tells us that that knowledge by mind is not necessary, that matters independent. So I think that in the same way, you could say that the matter of religion is also independent. The fact that people might abuse it or tell us wrong things about it doesn't necessarily mean it's not something that materially exists. That's what I'm going to say, and I'm going to leave it to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Sister. Then I'll better ask that you move to the next part, unless Brother Kwame, you have something to say. Because I've asked.
No, I don't have anything to say. I think you said it all.
Okay. So let's read the next.
Unless you want to ask Brother Mauli if he wants to come back, but otherwise, yeah, please carry on.
Oh, Brother Mauli, are you having something to come back on, or can we move to the next paragraph?
Yeah. For me, from our point of view, religion is a big cancer. However, taking religion out of the picture, we have to also look at what is really the definition of religion, and also our African spirituality. That is another question. And then another issue that I also want to look at is also our educational system. That has nothing to do with religion. However, we can also argue that religion, the religious leaders, or religion has taken, or some religious groups have taken hold of the educational system in Africa and use it as a means to pursue or advance their agenda. So in a way, yes, it all leads back to some religious group specifically who have actually caused us to be the situation where we find ourselves currently. Be that as it may, one question one will ask, then which religion or which practice is the right practice for the African man to really practice to take himself or him or herself from all these situations? That is another question that one will also ask in situations like this. And whilst reading the book that our honorable leader wrote, which is Conscientism, I could not find that direct response to this question in it. So this is my challenge actually.
Thank you. Permit me to ask you maybe to engage your mind a bit. If you go back to our reading in terms of idealism, Moran Nkrumah defines idealism. He extensively analyzed religion. So kindly, it's not something that's coming. A position of Nkrumah under this book was actually made in the previous pages as we start this. So you can actually refer to it. You go back a bit around page 18, page 17, you can find that position. Then with that being said, then I think we need to move to the next paragraph, unless there's something else. So if there's no any other opinion, Brother Kwame, can you scroll up a bit?
So, Brother Pigeon, did you give us your idea on the paragraph? Did we hear it?
I don't know if you heard it.
But you gave it. Okay, sorry. I didn't hear it. Thank you.
But of
I
course,
didn't hear it either. I didn't hear it either.
To me, two things are very important. The independence of matter being independent of knowledge, that's something that's very important to me. But yes, I'll share my thinking. Let me get to the next paragraph, which is, I will request someone to read for us the next paragraph, which starts from, if, however, because here now the primary reality of matter is being discussed again. The primary reality of matter.
As it's Ida to read. It's Ida, I'm sure she would like to read.
The primary reality.
No, I really wouldn't like to read because my voice is just coming back, but I'm not that strong. So if somebody else could read, it would be good. Thank you.
Okay, anybody within our membership would like to read the paragraph starting from the one. If, however,
can I suggest Brother Karanja reads for us? He has a beautiful voice.
Brother Karanja?
If it's okay with you.
Are you okay to read for us that paragraph, Brother Karanja? Just let us know.
In fact, in the past, you remember, Brother Pigeon, we take it in turns to read, so everybody reads.
Brother Karanja?
Anyway.
Okay, Ajete? Are you here, Ajete?
I have eye problems, so
I know you have eye problems. Sorry for that.
okay.
I'm on the road, so I can listen at the moment. I can't really read at all.
Brother DJ Mr. P?
Yes, brother.
Yeah, kindly, if you can be able to read for us the paragraph starting with the word if, however, the soul or primary reality of matter is asserted. There.
Which paragraph is that?
The paragraph of the screen. Are you able to see the screen?
Yeah, I can see the screen. Yeah.
Is a paragraph starting with the word if, however?
Yeah, if, however, yeah, from there. Oh, the first paragraph, right. Okay.
Only
yeah.
That paragraph.
How much do you want me to read?
Only that paragraph alone.
Right, okay. If, however, the soul or primary reality of matter is asserted, one is brought up sharply against certain hard facts, notably those centering around the phenomenon of consciousness and of self-consciousness. If consciousness is to be explained in terms of overt response to stimuli, then it must be distinguished from self-consciousness and perception from apperception. Of self-consciousness, we only have an internal experience. Another hard fact is the distinction between qualities and quantities, while a third is the distinction between energy and matter.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Let's proceed now there. And let's
Please, can I ask a question? Which is, what does apperception mean? A-P-P-E-R-section. Apperception.
Apperception.
Yes.
I suppose it's the opposite to perception.
Apperception.
You read it very eloquently, I must say.
Very nicely, but I don't know what that word means. Sorry.
Oh, thank you, ladies.
Yes, you can be our recommended reader.
Thank you,
Marley,
Marlene.
did you hear what Brother Kwame said? Everybody reads.
Yeah.
I still don't know what apperception means.
Yeah, tonight
So-
I won't be
so-
even attempting it. I don't feel well at all. I got a bit of food poisoning, I think.
Oh,
So-
sorry
so-
to hear that.
Yeah, so perception.
Get
Yeah,
some
that's
bitters.
okay.
Get some bitters inside you, man. Get some bitters inside you.
So perception. So the perception is the capacity to perceive things, and one instrument we use to perceive the world is through our sight. So that's perception. Our perception, you can see it as the perception of perception, if you like. So it's a higher level of sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can
yeah.
hear you, but
Yeah, sorry. But Pigeon was calling me, so I wasn't sure if he was hearing me. So I was explaining that perception is the capacity to perceive, like when you touch things or when you see things. So that's perception. Our perception is, if you consider it as a perception of perception, because the thing with humans, although nobody has proven that we are the only people who do this, but we like to claim that we do, is that we are able to have self-consciousness, which means that you can see yourself as yourself. In other words, you can think about yourself and think about the self of yourself, if you see what I mean. So that capacity is something that we have, and that is linked to our perception, the capacity to be able to see yourself, to be able to even think about yourself as a conscious being, which is different from you just being able to perceive the world.
Yeah. Right, because your lens could be dirty.
Yeah, precisely. So, but inside, I hope that helps.
Yeah. Well, by definition, conscious perception with full awareness. That's what apperception is. Conscious perception with full awareness, which is what you were saying.
So you are able to conceive. So you are able to conceive, think about yourself. You're able to think about the thinking self. So you are a thinking being, but you can now think of yourself
outside of
So the
you see and yourself outside of yourself, not just having your own perception. Yeah,
precisely. Thank you.
Sister Ida, I hope that helps. Sister Ida asked the question.
Yes,
so
thank
I
you.
hope
Thank
that
you.
helps.
Yeah, perception, to my definition, it means a simple impression that has not yet fully reached the consciousness, which an extant phenomenon produced on the senses. A perception means a perceived sensation already perceived by consciousness. A perception can be thought of as the conscious perception of non-sensory impression. So yes, with that, I'll go straight to our routine to ask members to start sharing their thinking. And for this case, I'll start with in my list. Let me start with Jete. Your eyes might be having issues, but I think your ears were correct.
Brother Pigeon, you are confusing Ajete with Mauli. They are two different people.
No, my list.
Mauli is the one with eye problems. Ajete is the one that's driving and can't contribute.
Ajete, can you contribute? Or you can just
he's driving, so he can't contribute. He said he can't contribute because he's driving.
Okay. Then in my list, I'll go to then Mauli, because DJP, Mr. P has read. So I'll come to him as the last person to give his cause of opinion. But if you like to go straight forward, it's also allowed. Just let me know. So let me go to the King Mauli. The King Mauli, what do you read out of those three issues that are coming out? What's your thinking in regards to that paragraph? Welcome, Victor. Victor, welcome from Kenya.
Thank you.
And I'm seeing Karanja is also from Kenya. I don't know if he's in Kenya, but I know that. And Mbogo was here also from Kenya. Welcome, comrades from Kenya. You're welcome. So, Mauli? Mauli, if Mauli is not ready, I would say come back to you. Ajete, you say you cannot be able to contribute. Okay. Let me, Ajete, are you able to contribute, Ajete? I see you've come up in the list. If you're not.
Hello.
Yes.
I'm just going to bash religion one more time because you see, we've been discussing this and it's come up again. I hope I'm clear. You can hear me well.
Yes, I can hear you, Ajete.
Good. So,
But there's no
religion,
religion in this paragraph, Ajite.
there are as many
There's no religion in
religions
this
as well. I'm not dealing with the paragraph, this particular paragraph. I'm just dealing with historical thinking that I have in my mind over the discussions we've had. That religion is, there are as many religions as there are human beings. There cannot be only one religion. Just like Christianity will come and tell us that.
Ajete,
Yeah.
if you can hear me, permit me to ask you
I hear
that
you.
the religion discussion, we can have it later. But can you contribute to this paragraph? Because, of course, there's serious issues raised in this paragraph, including consciousness and self-consciousness, including, of course, apperception and perception, including qualities and quantities, energy and matter.
Yeah, that's a lot of things. I haven't put my head around at all. Yes.
But Ajite is a religious expert.
I'm just going to have it on religion. I'm telling you.
Okay, I think I'll come back to you. You know your issue.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, welcome. Sister Mani?
Yes, what I was going to say is, I think it's saying that we should, you know, the consciousness and self-consciousness, if we were to use that, it could distinguish how we deal with things that is going on around us, and then dealing with that, we can deal with the quantities between energy and matter. So it's how we deal with the consciousness and our self-consciousness, something along that line. Does it make sense, Kwame, what I'm saying?
Yeah, it does. In fact, what you are saying, Sister Marlene, if I may just support you there, is that the things you have mentioned, if we say we are materialists, we must deal with them. That's what you are saying.
Yeah.
We need to deal with those. Yeah, we need to deal with those issues.
And I don't think a lot of us does deal with it in that way. We're kind of
correct,
confused.
Absolutely. We don't take responsibility for a lot of things.
Yeah, because I don't think we fully understand how to go about it, because things
we don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we simply don't know.
Yeah, things are so, you know, unbalanced. Nothing is straightforward, so it makes us a bit lost, you know. Consciousness. So if we can distinguish, I think we're not distinguishing the difference.
Thank you.
Yeah, there is a distinction there, yeah.
But we're not doing it.
Correct.
I think that's what it's telling us.
That's where the apperception comes in. To be outside of your own perceptions and see the bigger picture.
Okay, thank you for that. Let me go to, okay, Mr. P, if you can just go ahead and also share your thinking as you're trying to build it up.
Sorry?
You can share your thinking as well, just direct.
Oh yeah, it's very much along the lines of what Marlene was saying, and as you know, the last thing I said there, that word apperception, it's an interesting word, because my understanding, based on the definition, is you really, and I mentioned this earlier, you know, your perceptions may not always be clear or true. What you see is what you see. It's not necessarily how things actually are. And that's where religion muddies the waters, because as I said earlier on, all religion is, it's just belief. It's what you believe. But just because you believe something doesn't make it right, or it doesn't make it true. So looking back to the paragraph here, and where it splits, it has you distinguish from self-consciousness and perception from apperception. So it's not always about how you see things. It's being able to be outside and look at what you're looking at, which is where you tend to get a bigger picture and a bigger view of what is actually there, and not what you see or what you want to see or what you think is there. And that's yeah, that's what I make of that.
Thank you for that. Let's go to Mauli. Mauli, are you kindly share your thinking, Mauli?
No, I'm okay for now.
So we pass.
Yeah, pass.
Okay, Sister Ida?
I think that it's telling us that there are three different things it's talking about in this paragraph. And if I could get the three right, that one is that consciousness is explained in terms of overt response to stimuli. So some things will cause people to react to things, and it triggers off their consciousness, or triggers off what they have to say as a result. The second one was, I think, self-consciousness and perception. We only have an initial experience. So anyhow, that seems to be the second one. And the third one seems to be the distinction between energy and matter. And I think maybe that one might be just to set people's, just to stimulate everybody or stimulate everybody. That might fall into the religious category, the distinction between energy and matter. So I think it's talking about three different categories of how we perceive things, how we react to things, how we understand things. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Karanja?
I don't think I have anything to add for now. Thanks.
Thank you. Jalal Hashim?
I'm all right, Dad. I don't have anything to add. Thank you.
Kwame, can I ask something?
Yes, Sister Malin?
If we were to understand our all of these things, the consciousness and self-consciousness and if we all applied it, would it sort Africa out?
It's definitely on the right road to doing that, I think.
Thank you for that question. Of course, the answer might come along. Only of myself can do this. But to my understanding is that, and to my thinking, is that, of course, the level of self-consciousness, this text tries to bring the inner look and the outer look or general perception of something. See? Like when you talk of consciousness, just to be aware. But when you move to self-consciousness, to be aware of self, the understanding and the thinking, if we can be able to be deep to understand ourselves as Africa, to understand our problem, not in quantity, but rather in quality. Quantity, which may be a general observation of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but the quality of the 6, for example, to my understanding, if we have a magnitude problem in terms of either the exploitation of our resources, in terms of leadership, instead of saying that, okay, 1 million or whatever is going out, but can we go deeper to understand the quality, like the real figurative factors that are in deep in order for us to understand. So for us as Africa, probably to get our way out of this problem we're in, we need to go deeper into inward looking and inward understanding out of a general understanding and a general response. So I think if we apply the inner bit of it, as to my thinking, we can be able to solve the problem we are facing in South Africa. But if you apply the general thinking or the general view of everything else, we may not go deeper. Like if you just use perception, instead of moving deeper to a perception, then you may not actually get a concrete solution to what you are trying to fight for us now.
I agree. I agree, brother. I agree.
Thank you for that. Sister Marin, are you somehow?
Yeah, well, we need to get to grips somehow.
Thank you.
Which is why I suggested earlier about the whole thing about personal development, because that's going to have you see things as they are and not necessarily the way you want to see them. Yeah, that's why personal development is so important, because that is going to raise your self-consciousness level. And many of us, as you know, we're not even asleep, we're comatose. So if we're comatose, then we're not actually conscious, much less self-conscious. So we first need to wake up, and then we need to reach that level of self-consciousness so we can begin to think and look at things in an apperceptive way, because many of us don't. We just look, we see things through our own lens, how we see things. And that's a lot of the problem. That's a huge issue with ourselves, much less the actual world itself.
Thank you for that additional contribution.
You're welcome, brother.
Sister Myra said she will not be able to contribute. Therefore, I'll have to go to Brother Victor. Brother Victor?
Okay, yeah, I'm getting it. Yes, I'm here. Am I clear?
Yeah, you are clear, audible.
Thank you, thank you. So my contribution is going to be very short because I always seem not to be good in this class, but I'm understanding something on.
Who said you're not good?
That's your perception. That's your perception, Victor. That's your perception.
That's why in this class we ask people to share their thinking, so that it's a process of training your thinking. So as much as you engage in this class, you try to train your thinking to go that deeper in your thinking. So it's not that you're good, you're moving to that thinking. So it's okay, so that you can be conscious enough. So proceed, brother.
Okay, thank you so much. So my first thinking is on the consciousness. I think that is some more of collective to some extent. Then on the self-consciousness, feel like you have to have two approaches of your understanding yourself, because it's far beyond religion to me. It's more of spirituality aspect of ourselves and getting to know ourselves in a deeper dimension, because it is what now entail yourself. You know, you understand yourself. You get to know every point of you, because I always say that every nation has got a spiritual backup, which to some extent is being sat on as a way to diminish. Like everybody has got that as part. Every group of people, every conscious people, has to have more of a collective energy, especially in the terms of spiritual aspect. So self consciousness is whereby if everybody is able to tap into their real potential on the both aspects, then realize that even the nation might has to be transformed in a way. So that is just my thinking on that. But I know these are very critical factors that we need to put out clearly, because also the diversity of our society has really embraced a very narrow approach towards consciousness in a way that people would see it as a different angles, or people would see it differently. But at the end of the day, I feel like if one knows themselves well, it is very easier for people to tap into their diverse potential and develop our continent to some extent in a very bigger way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, one of our comrades who is not, I think he is not here with us for some time, Brother Pokwa, did come up with two words. The new word is called understanding. Apart from understanding, you must understand something. So understanding is like moving deeper to the real aspect of understanding the situation in Africa. And I think that calls for critical analysis and maybe scientific analysis. And that's why somebody said that either what do you call it, either idealism do not take into consideration science. And science go deeper to check into these facts and realities. Brother Kwame, to you.
I was going to say that inner understanding is an attempt to respond to English word understanding, but the African does not stand under. In my language, we say that the word for it, so understanding in English, when you bring it to my language, literally it means hearing the roots of something. That means the ear, or you are able to hear matter talking to you and explaining itself to you. That is what in English you say understanding. Because the root of a tree is under, but we don't stand under, we hear. So I'm just trying to explain that. So we wouldn't say understanding. Understanding would not mean anything to us as Africans within our language. We say that you hear it. Anyway, back to the book. I was just kind of commenting on. Yeah, so I think everyone has, in a way, touched on the point of this paragraph. And the point of this paragraph is essentially telling us that if first of all, there's a difference between asserting that only matter is real, yeah, people which is saying that only matter is real, as opposed to saying that matter is primary. There's a difference between the two. Those who assert the sole reality of matter are those who will even dismiss spirituality, dismiss religion, dismiss consciousness, to dismiss anything that for them is not matter. And they are the soul, if you like, soul materialists. Soul as in SOLE. In other words, for them, matter is the only thing that exists. All this talk about spirit, ideas, consciousness is all nonsense to them. Look, only matter exists. So those are the soul realities, the soul materialists. Some call them the hardcore materialists. Then there is those who say that matter is primary. When you say matter is primary, there's a difference. You are saying that I recognize that other things exist. What are those things? The three are what this paragraph has drawn to our attention. One, consciousness and self-consciousness. The second one, so you got consciousness and self-consciousness. That's one. Then you got perception. The second a big one is qualities and quantities. And the third big one is energy and matter. So what it's telling us is that if we say we are materialists, let's distinguish ourselves first of all. Are we soul materialists or are we primary materialists? This book that we are reading is an African philosophical work. So as you can imagine, we cannot accept soul reality of matter as Africans. But you see, the African cannot just accept that if there was an accident, that there's no spiritual dimension to the accident. African just cannot accept that. If you see an accident, somebody dies in the accident, maybe the person I don't know, did not pray, or the person had problems at home.
Or somebody
Driver
put
was
juju on. Someone put juju on
yeah,
them.
or the driver was not the driver was keep his or her eyes on the road, or was distracted by something in the mind. The African believes that matter is primary, and that in trying to explain the universe, you must always bring in, if you like, matter that is not physical. Because sometimes when we say matter, people think we mean the physical. But when we say matter, we don't mean physical things. Matter is not always physical. For example, as you know, wood, solids are physical. But what about gas? Gas is not a liquid, is it? Gas is not solid, is it?
No, but it's still
Gas,
physical.
yes, that is the point I'm making. That when we say matter, some people think about quality in the sense that you can touch it and see it. But like you said, not all matter can be seen. Not all matter. There are some matter you can't even hear because our ears cannot detect that that sound wave and so on.
That frequency, correct.
That frequency, precise. So, so so these are the three things we need to confront. And so in effect, to summarize, it's saying that if we say that the universe is matter, then we need to be able to explain why something is red, as opposed to why there are 10 red things, if you like. Just an example. To be able to explain why uncooked rice is quality, and then cooked rice is that other quality, and so on. So we need to be able to understand this. So we need to understand the quality of Africa as a continent. If it had one central government, to use that as an example, as opposed to if it had many, the quantity of governments we have are 55. Brother is saying we should say 47, because he's saying that, I mean, brother DJ, I think, is saying that he doesn't consider North Africa. If that is the case, then we have 47 different governments. That's a quantity. Now, what quality of government does that imply, as opposed to if you had one central government for the 47? So these are things we have to do. And then there is the big one, which is energy and matter. You know, that what is energy and what is matter? If we are saying that matter, the universe is materialist, then how do we explain energy? So in short, this paragraph is waking us up to the reality that there is serious business ahead of us. We have a work ahead of us to really get to grips with matter if we're going to transform Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Kwame, for that. And indeed, thank you for everybody who has actually shared their thinking in regards to this. And we are 2 minutes to end of our class. Unless somebody has something that they feel that they need to add to in the next one or within a minute before we actually go towards the conclusion of our class today, and promise to catch up from here in the next class, which will be on next Thursday. Is there anybody who's feeling there's
Brother
something
Pigeon,
bad?
did you see Russ? I can just see Russ. I don't know when he came.
Yeah, he came and he went.
Okay.
Yes, just arrived now. Of course, I mean, just to recognize the
Brother Russ, good to see you.
Let me recognize his presence.
Yeah, brother Big Ben, if it is possible for you and the lecturer to forward to us the chapter in advance so that we read it, because you see my side can, I can hardly see you through the mobile. But if the chapter is forwarded to us in advance, we can read it, we can prepare our arguments, and this will save us a lot of time than we keep reading from the monitor of the mobile. It's very difficult. For me, it's almost... Cheers.
Thank you. What we do, we always share the page to be read, like the paragraphs to be read for this class. But of course, I'll share the whole book context, and in the morning, was it today morning or yesterday? Probably today in the morning, I shared the page to be read. But I can do this now maybe like 2 days before. I can share the page to be read because I always quote it. I don't take you to the book. I always quote the text of what page we are going to read, or paragraph we are reading today, so that you can read it and come in the class prepared. So that's what we always do. We always send a notification with the attachment of what you're going to read for the class. And maybe I can make that maybe 2 days earlier so that you can prepare now for it. But we'll also share the book, because I always also quote the page. So that also
it says page 23.
Yeah, so that also gives you a better advantage that you can refer to the quote if you don't have the book, just read the text. And if you want to refer to the book and read further, we can actually go directly to the book. So we'll share the book. We have a WhatsApp group where we do these. I don't know if I can be able to share the link here if you want to join the WhatsApp group for the class, but I'll also share the book via our broadcast so that everybody can have a copy of this book directly to your inbox. I think that also would be better for every one of us to get the exact book via your inbox. Is that okay?
Yeah, but I'm able to share the link.
That's
here.
fine with me, brother. That's fine with me. That makes sense.
Brother, come, can you share the link? Is there anybody who still has something want to put on or add on? Maybe a comment, general comment in the class or anything else, or maybe any final reaction you want to add in regards to this chapter that you've read.
I think, Brother Pigman, you did used to share the paragraph or 2 paragraphs, but maybe it's a bit lengthy. But you did use it at that point.
Even today I did. If you check your inbox, I did.
I was looking, it says page 23. I went to check because in the past I know you used to.
No, but what I do, I don't now share the screenshot of the page. I just put the page into text. So when I say page 23, the text below is the quotation that I've extracted from the page. So that it doesn't take to the page. So it gives, you can even use the same reading of the WhatsApp text to actually read the page instead of moving now to the book. That's not what I do.
Okay, great.
Which is better. Which is at least better because you easily read the text. Any other concern? Yes. If anybody has any concern or any observation? I know a few people have joined you, like Karanja.
Yeah, I've got an observation, brother. I just wanted to say it was my first time, and I find it to be a very interesting class. I think there's a lot to learn here, which is good, and I'll be back next week. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. What you do also, we have recorded this, and this recording we always put it on our YouTube channel. We have over 40 videos that we have posted on our YouTube channel. Every class we record and post on the YouTube channel, and also share the link immediately to you after maybe like tomorrow. We'll share the link by your inbox so that in case you missed this, because in our broadcast list we have over 150 people. So in case you miss the physical class, you can be able to go to the YouTube and follow up the classes, and you can even go to the YouTube and follow up our classes from the first classes as it builds up so that you have a better time for a recap. So we always record, and our recording are posted on our YouTube channel so that anybody can go there anytime and just to follow up on the conversation or what goes on. We do that recording and posting for both this Thursday class, the Saturday class for unification, and even the Tuesday Kiswahili class. I also post it on our YouTube channel. So anybody can catch up anytime. It's not a must that you be sometimes physically present here or be virtually present on this date. If you are engaged, you can still follow up with the classes anytime.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Excellent.
So you're all welcome. So without wasting, of course, if there's no more contributions, I'll say that we actually appreciate your presence. Our real intention for this class is to make more people be more conscious. And I think the right way we've got to do to be more self-conscious so that we can be able to actually go deep enough to even apply that inner or that, not under or inner, that self-consciousness in order to analyze the situations and the problems of Africa. Because I believe either we are taking African problem more shallowly, more consciously, than not more inwardly or in deeply looking into this. And if we can be able to go deep enough in our consciousness and in our criticism and in our research, then we can be able to have a proper solution for Africa. And this is what I think the bigger consciousness is looking at. So you must be personally conscious before you're conscious about your environment. So look into yourself and look into Africa before you look into the world and know the history of the world. Look at the history of Africa. Look at the problem of Africa deeply so that you can actually prescribe the solution. Don't tell us about China, Singapore, India, Malaysia, and you don't know Africa. So I think these are challenges that you're getting, but let's keep on this pace. So you're all welcome, and I appreciate your presence once again. I appreciate those who have contributed, and Chair Kwame, I appreciate also your presence today. I know last time you were engaged a bit. Without much, actually, I will have to stop the recording. Then now we can go to informal session for anybody who can actually wish to leave.
Brother, we don't have informal sessions. Consensus doesn't have informal sessions. When it's done, it's done. And also, can I remind you that, Chair, that you chair today, please, we finish at 9. We are very prompt with our time. We don't go over our time. So please, Chair, next time, be conscious of time. Thank you.